So for this call, we want to go over the agenda. And okay, so yeah, community calls are the place for you to bring questions. And if you have any ideas also on what to do with CROs, this is the place. So maybe you are researching about topology protocol in the background, and you can come and not only bring your questions, because we have a Q&A at the end, but we also have a space for you to share your project. So we have a very active Telegram community you can connect with. And if you want to do like your homework, you have 2 weeks for it, and come bring something for the next community call in the next couple weeks. So this is just the opening. And now I think you can go to the next slide. Today we want to go over how topology is making all this technical knowledge approachable for a larger community. So of course we are continuing to be very technical, but there is also an effort to break down this knowledge. And one of the ways there are some events and the newsletter we're going to talk about. And then there is this awesome From Ledgers to Sandcastles. It's a new blog post that is not out yet. So it's just, this is the spoiler for you. And since you are attending the meeting, you get to see that. And then, as usual, we'll see what we have been building on the development protocol side. And at the end, we have questions. We are open for questions. And you can already leave your questions in the chat as they come, and we will take care of them at the end. Yay. So next slide, we have the introduction to topology is our first event. So we have community calls every 2 weeks to talk about technical and also announcements and all of that, but to onboard people who are not technical and to really go over what is topology, so the story behind it, how did we get where we are right now, where are we right now with topology, and then where we are heading to. So what are our goals and what do we want out of this? And then also, of course, how you can be part of that, because this is not something we are building isolated. It's open source, so there are many ways to contribute. And more than that, like, we are building something to be used and to be brought. So you can attend this meeting to learn about topology and from a different perspective. It will be next week on Thursday, same time as the community call. And this is for technical and non-technical audiences. So this is the moment where you can actually call your friend and say, okay, I know something you don't, come to the meeting, and everybody will be like understanding on the same basic level what topology is and what is this open metaverse, how does it all connect. So you are all invited. And I will share, you can see on Discord, there is you can already mark your interest on Discord. And this is useful because it will allow you to be notified. So I will post it here, just in case. You can just mark your interest and attend. This will be our first call, so everybody's warmly welcome, warmly invited. And yes, I would go to the next slide right now to talk about, maybe you are in Singapore. It seems that nobody else other than Kono is there. But if you are in Token 2049, or you want to, you have, people who are there and who would be interested in talking to Kono, talking about topology, distributed systems, you can just go to this Start Singapore. So we are usually at Darknet events in this large event, so you can attend this. You can send this Luma meeting I just shared on the chat. You can share it with people who are there and would love to meet Kono. And yay, Kono, you are our representative. Hope you're having fun and going to parties, not only working all the time, also enjoying. And that's it for the slide. I would go to the next one. This is a reminder, because we talked about this last week. Maybe you were not here yet. And we have a newsletter. And the newsletter, we just started. So we are sharing everything that is like important links for you to keep, and articles that we are publishing, blog posts that we are publishing, important announcements, important of everything that we have. There will be, oh, there is a chat. So you can sign up for this, subscribe to the newsletter and receive it via email. We want to share twice per month. So it's a very good moment to sign up because the next one is coming very soon. And we will have the next topic of today, which is the blog post, super new, super fresh. And yes, with that, I give you the stage back. Guilty, if you can talk about how what because you're the author, so that would be super cool to hear from you your insights.
For the blog post slide, this one, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this appears to be a spoiler for the blog post um to be shared. From ledgers to sandcastles, TLDR is blockchains are ledgers. Um, we have been trying to do a lot on ledgers, and ledgers were designed for the purpose of working like a ledger. And I think that we think that we are actually wishing to make sandcastles together, and that requires a fundamentally new design approach at the distributed systems and the protocol level, so that we can be present together and to collaborate on in applications in real time together. And that's the TLDR from ledgers to sandcastles. And just to read through this sentence from the blog post, and I won't spoil you all about what's the rest of the blog post. But the line here is, we want to spawn beaches at will and to build sandcastles together while you're in Sao Paulo and I'm in Seoul. And to do that, the magic of presence is essential. And Topology Protocol is about enabling such presence on decentralized networks and allowing everyone to access and deploy programs and connect in real time. And I think the spoiler here is we want to be together, but also our biological presence is in this reality, and we may be separated very far in the reality. Separated, maybe we are on different ends on this planet, and that is a huge problem, and that is the problem that goes into one of the fundamental reasons why topology protocol is designed in the way it is designed. So that's the spoiler for you, and if you are curious, subscribe to the newsletter and you'll be able to read the blog post when it's out.
And one of the things I really like about the blog post is that it's very visual. So you managed to bring all this abstract and ideation to a very concrete situation, and it is very easy to read as well. So it's perfect for you to really have a first context, a first intuition of all of that. So this is something that can be shared with people who are not here right now. And yeah, this is our current effort. Yes, the link to newsletter subscription is already in the community call chat. So you can also go there. And I think we didn't have many questions so far. So if you are preparing for those, the next topic will start getting to the technical details.
Right, should we go to the update slides?
Yes, I think it's a moment. Oh, no, just keep that because it's more spoilers.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. So protocol development updates. This is the only technical slide in this deck. So I'll be going through briefly what we have done since the last community call, and also going over the major items that we are working on right now. So starting with the things that are done. Big release, version 0.1.0 with an additional fix. So that's version 0.1.1. This release is a release of the topology protocol, or to be more precise, it is the TypeScript implementation of topology protocol. And it is a release because it has end-to-end functionality. So the TLDR of that is you can start making CRO applications with this release, with the good guarantee that the interface of the CRO development won't change a lot quickly. That means there is certain stability that comes with this release, so you can make CRO examples, and while we will keep iterating on the protocol side, and shipping more features and shipping more enhancements. So with this release, if you go to the repo now, check out the examples folder. There is a chat example and there's a canvas example. The chat example is a basic, super basic chat room made with CRO, and the canvas example is a little drawing board that's pixelized, and users can connect and click on the pixels, and they can see each other's pixels. That's a canvas example. And if you look into the PR of the repo, you will see a grid PR. That is a 2D grid space game lobby, very minimal, but users can connect and appear to be circles and move around on the grid. So we're tinkering as we go, and we're making more examples, hoping to inspire hackers, all of you, to imagine what's possible with topology protocol. So from the release, we also did, so these are highlights. All these features are already shipped into the release. Hash graphs. So we did two things, major things on the hash graph side. The first thing is we made an optimization to check whether two vertices are causally related or not causally related in the hash graph. And we improved this function so that its speed is now 7x compared to before. That's the improvement. Shout out to Jan in the audience. He found the solution and implemented the solution and benchmarked it, and found that the speed up is quite significant. So that's really exciting. The second major feature shipped with Hashgraph is that we are now supporting semantics that is defined over a set of vertices, arbitrarily sized. And as a reminder, before this feature, we only supported semantics that is defined over pairwise vertices. And just a quick reminder what semantics is. Semantics basically is we are in the regime now where things can happen concurrently, right? We're not in blockchain land anymore, where everything is nicely total ordered. So every two events is always either before or after. We're now in the land of concurrency, so things can happen at the same time. And so semantics basically mean you need to define when two things happen at the same time, how do you address that? How do you handle it? So if somebody deletes something and somebody add the same thing, and they did it at the same time, you need to define that, and that is what semantics mean. And pairwise semantics, which is what we had before, is you can define semantics over a pair of operations that were done concurrently. But now we are supporting semantics that you can define what happened if a whole bunch of vertices or operations happen at the same time. And you can define a semantics that address all of them at once. That's now supported. And if you look into the test in the repo, you will see that we demonstrated this new semantics by a random selection semantics. That's basically mean that if I have a whole bunch of operations happening at the same time, I will derive a pseudo-random number from this batch of operations, and I will use that pseudo-random number generator to pick one out of them. So it is a pseudo-random, deterministic but random process to pick one out of a conflicting batch of operations. And we imagine that to be very useful in many scenarios where you don't want to be favoring a particular one based on some arbitrary tiebreaker. You just want to be randomly picking one, but you want a good degree of randomness. And so you derive the seed from the vertices so that the seed is different every time, given a different input batch. Okay, so that's done already. Now we're ready to cover what's being worked on right now. The first two items is finality and synchronization. Finality is the idea that we are in the land of concurrency, where things happen concurrently, but they reach consistency eventually, or eventual consistency model. But even with eventual consistency, it's useful for CRO to have a notion of what is final and what is not final. And the reason is, imagine a CRO talking to a blockchain. And blockchain is the land of finality, right? It's the land where things are finalized into consensus and applications are built on top of the consensus. So if a CRO wants to communicate with a blockchain, the thing that is sent from a CRO to a blockchain has better be finalized, because blockchains see things as finalized. So finality basically is the crucial feature of the protocol that we believe for CROs to be meaningfully interacting with any blockchain. And this is any blockchain. While we work on protocol side, we do not assume that the protocol is tightly integrated or coupled with any particular blockchain architecture. We are just recognizing that the thing that all blockchains share is they reach consensus on things. So if we send information to them, they need the information to be final, to be meaningful. So that is the finality feature. Synchronization feature is the idea that we are now synchronizing CROs in a naive way, sending raw histories and sending all of them. So let's imagine you and I are synchronizing the same CRO history, and your copy of the history versus my copy of the history only differ by one event. So there may be 1,000 events, but where our histories are basically the same, other than the very last one. Right now, our approach is very naive in a way that we're just sending an entire batch. So I'll send my entire history of 1,000 events to you. You will ask me, you'll basically tell me that, hey, only one thing is different. So and you'll send me that one different thing, and then we're done. But there's obviously some communication overhead with doing this raw, naive synchronization. So we want to be benchmarking and understanding the communication bottleneck here, and potentially implement a much better synchronization algorithm. Still using this three-way handshake of I sending you something, the hashes of my vertices, and you tell me what I don't have but you have, and then I also tell you what you need that I have. So that's a three-way handshake process. But we want to implement that using the magical algorithm for set reconciliation, that is the PRIBLT. And we talked about this in the last community call. We're mentioning this again in this call. This implementation now is something we're working on, but with a little bit low priority, because finality is a really hairy problem, and we want to nail it, get it right. So, anyone want to contribute to the synchronization task? It is not a trivial task at all, but if you love challenges, we will love for you to join and collaborate and contribute. Followed by examples and documentation. So examples is, given that we have a major stable release of the protocol, we can ship more examples. And we also welcome contributors to make examples. And the more examples we have, the more concrete imaginations we have about what the topology protocol can enable. And documentation is also catching up to the release so that we have a friendly explanation of how the protocol works and how to build with it. Okay, that's everything here. I can't see the chat room. Is there any question? Was there any question asked what I was talking?
No, Yeah, not really. I think people are still processing. But
Okay.
if you want to share your thoughts in the chat, we
Yeah.
can comment on them. We can discuss them if you have
Yeah.
ideas.
Right.
And since you talked about the contributions, can you go to the next slide? I created a new slide
Oh,
very
amazing.
quick.
Yes.
It's just a reminder, we are now on Only Dust. So you can, we are open source from before, but right now we are only desperate to find issues, and there are issues available. It's newbies welcome according to Only Dust tag, so you can be amongst the first contributors for this project. So just go there if you are an Only Dust person who are always looking for ways to contribute to projects. Consider Topology Protocol. We will be very happy to have you there. And if you have questions, of course, we are always available as we are now. So I see Oak is typing something. Maybe he has a question or more info because he's been handling. Okay, it's not easy for people without experience. So it's for newbies with experience, I think, in a way. Yeah, but we have open issues.
I think the reality, just to add on top of that, the reality that is that topology protocol is not the first CRDT protocol in the human history. But topology protocol is really new for the entire Web3 space, because Web3 space has been concerned with blockchain traditionally, and CRDTs are not blockchain. We're dealing with things that can move concurrently, and also the thing is we are really working on the entire stack. So the thing we don't go below is libp2p right now, which is the P2P networking engine by Protocol Labs that we are building on top of. But right above that, we do everything. So there is network messages that are sent and that are generated from protocol methods, which we define. And protocol methods is driving the functioning and behavior of CROs, which we also define. And you can look to the white paper to understand what CROs are. And on top of CROs, there are protocols that we're making, such as the finality protocol, that we're also defining ourselves. So a lot of things are made from scratch and from first principles. So if you are more junior to engineering, and the only thing that you have made is only in the blockchain space and only for web apps, then these issues may be a little bit challenging for you, even if they are marked as first good issues. It may still be challenging, and also because we have released version 0.1.0, but obviously we're still at the early phase of the protocol development. And there are a lot of considerations that have to be considered across multiple layers of the protocol. We don't have well-defined nuggets of problems that you can solve with well-defined boundaries without without good understanding of the rest of the protocol. So that is why our first good issues may not be easy. But if you like challenges, and if you like to work on something that's really refreshing in the Web3 space, then this is the repo to look at.
Awesome. So this is great. Thank you for sharing that. And we have, yes, we have D saying that he or she or they love seeing the progress behind topology. So thank you. You're very kind, and it's been a lot of progress. Maybe you want to talk about the progress overall, like since how much it's been developed, because it's been 1 year, right, since the project started. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that. improvising on the...
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So this is really um so okay, I can so maybe I'll do this. One thing that I do often, almost on a daily basis, is I imagine myself as a complete third-person stranger looking at topology protocol, and I may know something about CRDT. I might have heard of it somewhere from someone, maybe on Hacker News or from someone, but I don't know the details. How would I understand topology protocol? Like, what is topology protocol offering that the world is not already offering? And I think that is the question that we really need to answer, and no one else can answer for us. So here are two ways to answer that question. The first one is the longer answer. Is we all know HTTP has become the de facto standard for sending information on the internet, either between humans or between agents, like API calls. Okay, so HTTP serves that function. Topology protocol wants to be the de facto protocol eventually for any multiplayer applications running on the internet to maintain synchronized and consistent. And topology protocol, because it is peer-to-peer, the protocol doesn't work assuming there is a authoritative server or assuming there are special peers or special servers, special endpoints needed or special replicas needed to make the program work, to maintain consistency. The analogy is if you have Alice creating a CRO, Bob and Charlie join the CRO, and Alice leaves the CRO, and David joins the CRO. Right? The original creator already left the CRO, but the CRO will continue to exist. As so much as one person staying in the CRO will force it to exist, and that's how robust the CROs are meant to be. Okay, so the first answer is HTTP for transferring information. We want topology protocol to be the protocol for synchronized and presence, for people to be present together on the internet. The second answer to the question is much shorter than that, which is if you know IPFS, topology protocol is just like IPFS, but it's not for static files. It's for dynamic multiplayer real-time programs. So IPFS is a way for you to, given a content ID, you can recognize without any problem a original piece of data or the original file that corresponds to this ID. And maybe someone has that file, is available or not. But when someone gives you that file, you can for sure understand that that file corresponds to this ID. And it also gives you ways to persist that file that corresponds to certain IDs, and that's called pinning. But topology protocol is not about static files and persisting static files, serving them on the internet or over peer-to-peer network. Instead, topology protocol is identifying these programs that are running multiplayer in real time and serverless, not serverless in the cloud sense, but serverless as in there's no server, peers are equal, replicas are equal. And given a CRO ID, you can for sure identify the corresponding CRO. And if that CRO so much has one replica staying alive, keeping the history of that CRO, then anyone else can join, and the CRO basically continues to exist. So that's topology protocol, and we have received some feedback telling us that the IPFS analogy is really nice. IPFS, but for dynamic multiplayer programs. So let us know if you like that analogy. And we have come to this point from a long line of searches and tinkerings and explorations. And topology protocol is not even the first CRDT protocol in the human history. There are many attempts at creating protocols for distributed objects to exist over the internet or over the web for people to connect into it and to modify and to coexist. Some of them use CRDT, some of them don't, but there are quite a lot of protocols that attempted to do this thing. And this thing is related to the movement of decentralized web or D-Web, right? The idea is that in the 1990s, the World Wide Web was conceived of, and people didn't imagine huge servers with platforms to exist. It's just servers and clients, and everyone can spin up servers to serve any clients. But then the history has progressed to the point where there are huge platforms with close-guarded servers and internal links, and things are much, much less peer-to-peer than what the World Wide Web originally wanted to be. Much, much less decentralized. And so past 20 years, there has been many genuine efforts from the W3C, from the NL Net Foundation to sponsor efforts to make protocols where people can build applications and access applications on the internet without assuming authorities' servers. So we're not the first one that want to build this, but we're really excited about our approach because even though we're not the first attempt at CRDT-based protocol, we believe that we're the first serious attempt at really looking at the entire stack of protocols, not just trying to do one thing, but to look from the P2P layer all the way above to use cases and programmability and developer experience. And we would not over-engineer. We would look holistically at the entire stack and try to ship value and try to enable genuinely new use cases to developers and hackers. And so I believe that with our focus on the entire stack, the big picture, we can provide genuine value to the space that maybe some of the past attempts at making CRDT protocols had difficult doing. But this is a very big claim, so we'll have to match it with our actions, and time will tell.
I have some comments on we received some comments. So M said that the IPFS was a indeed good analogy that helped. And we have a question from Kay asking if you will do something like Filecoin later on to be sure the CRO stays alive.
Is this question coming from Kiwi?
Yes, I cannot see the whole. Yeah, he said it later. As in IPFS, you can have the file disappear if all the nodes that were holding it aren't there anymore. And he said that yes, it's coming from Kiwi.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. So the answer is yes, the short answer. The long answer is there is a presentation at the IPFS Camp 2024 just a couple months ago where the community lead at libp2p came on stage and talked about decentralized protocols and talk about pitfalls and where centralized services actually come in and grab portions of the cake from the decentralized protocol. So the idea is that you cannot have a decentralized protocol that do everything. A protocol will focus on certain aspects of serving users and giving and adding values, but then there are always some other aspects that the protocol fails or deliberately avoid satisfying, and those aspects are served by centralized platforms and companies making services. And one example is Git. So we can use Git protocol without using GitHub, but a lot of us use GitHub, and GitHub is not a decentralized protocol. It is based on Git, but it is a platform run centrally by a company. And I think whose majority share belongs to Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe there's implications or rumors that Microsoft is training their AI with repos on GitHub without programmers' consent. And that's all the problem that comes with centralized services, right? Is You don't always get guarantees what is being done behind the scene within the companies. But GitHub provides genuine value to Git protocol. We don't want to be cynical here. The reality is a lot of us use GitHub, and it adds a lot of value in the reality to Git protocol users. Also IPFS, to coming back to your example, Filecoin adds value to IPFS users by having a provider, having a service that can persist data identified by CIDs according to the IPFS protocol, and the provider itself is a network of decentralized nodes that are incentivized to stay in the network and do what the protocol says they should do, and provides value. So coming back to Topology protocol, we are designing a service for subscribing to CROs, right? So one analogy that I like to give is it's a philosophical question that goes, if in the universe a tree falls, but no one is in the universe to observe, then did the tree really fall? Depends on where you come from. Your answer may differ. But for CRO, so much as one guy hearing the tree falling, the tree did fall. And that guy is the value add that this subscription service is providing. Basically, we have a service, and if your CRO requests the service to subscribe, then the service subscribe to your CRO. We basically send one guy or multiple guys to your CRO party and just listen in and write down everything that happens. And so that if everyone in your party leaves, our guys still stay in your party, and newcomers can talk to our guys to bootstrap and synchronize and join the party. And our guys don't do anything but just listening and recording things. Our guys don't tamper with the parties. They don't generate write operations to the CROs. And furthermore, we want to provide this service not from Topology, the company, but as decentralized network of nodes that are incentivized to do that. And if you look at Topology Foundation GitHub, we already have a top chain repo. It is a blockchain project, and we're looking to design this particular decentralized network that's based on the blockchain, and that has incentivization scheme for nodes to work together and provide subscription services to CROs. That's a really long answer. A short answer is yes.
And later he commented that nice, so no need for users to keep a topology node alive. And they said that subscription system is interesting. We have been calling them observer nodes. And yeah, we really liked it. So
nice. Yeah, observer nodes. Yeah.
And we have another question from Dee, which is, do you think topology protocol is important because it's a more performant form of decentralization for people who love decentralization? Or do you think it's more generally a good way of running netcode games? For instance, it's fair and free.
I think topology protocol. So we came from a long line of experimentations, and a lot of our experiments were games or game simulations. So we did have a lot of ideas coming from game making and the requirements of games. But topology protocol is meant to be a general purpose protocol. So a story for you is we're talking to a developer from the Bitcoin RGB ecosystem. And the reason obviously being that CRO, from a certain angle, if you squint, CRO can be seen as a generalized programmable version of Lightning Network, where you have state channels that don't just transact money between the two parties, but they share updates and they maintain history of updates, and they derive program states from those updates. So it's a generalized programmable state channels that doesn't just work for two parties, but for multiple peers. And so this is obviously of interest to people in the Bitcoin ecosystem that really want to do something on top of the Bitcoin protocol. And we've been talking about the how exactly can we start tinkering? And I believe the developer has already started tinkering with CRO and try to think about CROs connecting to Bitcoin. The details I don't know yet. I think this developer wasn't able to join this community call, but we really look forward to him joining our next community call, so he can speak for himself and the ideas coming from the Bitcoin angle. But just to give an example, to show that we're not making this just to enable video games, although video games really fascinate us, and it's one of the fundamental imaginations of what the Open Metaverse feels like. Is the Open Metaverse doesn't feel like buttons to click on, but feel like lands and spaces to navigate and explore, right? So video games really are one of the best metaphors that we can use to imagine what the metaverse would feel like and experience like. But yeah, the key thing here is we want CRO to be really simple and robust to build with. So the idea is that if you now want to make a network application, you need to think about, okay, I have a server side and client side, and because most likely you won't think in peer-to-peer terms. So you have a server side and client side. You would think about the back end and front end. You would think about how to let the back end and front end maintain consistency. So people do things on front ends. How is that communicated back to the back ends? And maybe back ends have databases, and databases persist changes. And if some other clients make changes that are reflected in the databases, how are these changes communicated to the rest of the clients? And there are all these issues with getting data synchronized across machines, servers, and clients that really just get messy over time. And you have a never-ending list of frameworks and models and design patterns to do this. And all these frameworks get renewed with version updates and new shiny kids on the block advertising themselves as the best synchronization protocol or framework. CRO wants to be so simple that's why this slide gives you the sandcastle analogy. Is that we want CROs to be this magical rock where you can sculpt into any multiplayer applications you want. That just works out of the box and over the internet. And so I personally look at CRO as a material. So it's almost like we're inventing a new material, and we're like in the material science business. And this new material needs to be so easy to manipulate with and play with. And you can make multiplayer applications that just work out of the box. It just maintains synchronized over the network magically. Magically, because there's a lot of stuff being done on the background, but magically, people joining the same applications made with CRO, they just magically maintain synchronized. Does that answer your question, or do you want anything elaborated?
He said it's perfect, and it's interesting to hear how you see it as a useful general purpose protocol. And he's typing, so we are in suspense. Maybe there isn't anything else. Oh, yeah. Yes. I don't think there's any other questions to that topic.
Cool.
And yes, how does it sound? Any final questions from everybody who's in the audience? Kuno loves the analogy of sandcastle analogy. And Dee said, see you in Bangkok. Yeah, the sandcastle analogy is very popular. Everybody loves it. And it's the first time hearing that Oak hears it. And Oak will be the first one to read it, I think, because he has access to it. But if you want to read more about that, don't worry to subscribe. And yeah, proofreading Oak. Yes, so Kono said that it reminds him of the modular blockchain narrative a bit. There are some final comments.
Mm.
You can go ahead. Oh, CRO as a new material is a good analogy as well.
Right. I think if any of you have friends that are artists or they think about designs and art making and art creation, then this community call actually is a great place for them. For the reason that CRO is a material and it's also a medium to make art with. It's to use 113's language. CRO is meant to be an art supply. Imagine you go to art supply stores, right? And you buy inks. You buy all these different supplies that allow you to make different arts. And these are art supplies. They afford you to create art in particular mediums with particular affordances. Certain pens allow you to draw with water and leverage water to create different luminance and different textures. Some other medium doesn't allow you to leverage water, but have more grainy materiality like crayons and so that's art supply. And the way I see it, CRO is another art supply, just like smart contract. Smart contract is an art supply, and people are making NFTs with smart contracts that create arts that run on the blockchain. CRO is another art supply on the streets, and it allows you to do real-time multiplayer anything, and you don't need a server for it to work. Just make it, generate an ID, and spread the ID to your friends. And so much as one guy is in that CRO, people can join, and it's alive. It should be easy to make and tinker with, and it should enable interesting new use cases. Once the complexity of tinkering with it drops significantly, more people can join and make funny things out of it and interesting things out of it. And these people were previously blocked just because making network applications are so difficult because there's so much things, database, backend, synchronization frameworks, and so on, you need to pick up to even get to a working networked application POC. So we hope to drop that complexity by more than 10x and see what people build. And so that's art making is an art supply. And so people studying art and have been creating art is perfect for the community call. Also perfect for the intro to topology, where that call is going to be even less technical than this one. But I think certain artists I know, actually appreciate hearing about the technical things because they get inspiration from how it works technically and they reflect that in the art they make. So all is welcome, even your artist friends. I think we're at the 1 hour mark. Yeah.
I think we are. And we have Kono said that he loved hearing how CROs are being implemented on Bitcoin too, and that we should have a session run by Rania. Rania is the designer and the artist of Topology, and she has been preparing actually something in the background. So this is just a spoiler. You will soon see some new content, very artistic and very beautiful from her about the topology. So yeah, she's an inspiration for us to call more artists. A very good call out.
Nice.
And yeah, we hit the mark, 1 hour. If you have any final questions, otherwise, thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you again in the next Intro to Topology. Will be next Thursday, same time as this one. You can already hit the bell on the event here on Discord, so it's notifying you automatically. And yes, subscribe to the newsletter as well, so you can read the full from ledgers to sandcastles. He'll be out really soon.
Amazing. Thank you everyone for coming to the call.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Beauty, for coming and for hosting this, sharing all of the content with us.
Thank you for co-hosting with me.
Thank you. See you, everyone.